Carlsbad. People, Purpose, and Impact. An essential podcast for those who live, work, visit, and play in Carlsbad.
Good morning and welcome, everyone. My name is Brett Schanzenbuck. I am the president and CEO of the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce, and I am your host today. I'm excited to have with me Michael Antonorsi, the Chief Joy Activator at Chuao Chocolatier. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Did I say the last name right?
You did it perfectly, yeah.
All right, good.
It's not an easy one.
I don't have to tell the audience how many times I practice, but so you are a co-founder at Chuao Chocolatier, is that correct?
That's correct.
That's wonderful. And I was doing a little digging and learning a little bit about your background before we got here today. And you're originally from Venezuela.
That is correct.
And went to college here locally at UCSD to become a biomed engineer. And so I got to know how you transition from biomed to chocolate.
It's called confusion.
I love it. Come on, give us the steps, the journey.
Okay, so, I grew up in Venezuela from, a half German Venezuelan family, very demanding, need to kind of push forward, and finished high school at 16 and came to the United States to study college. And because I wanted to get that, recognition from your parents, something that we kind of all share.
Sure.
And I wanted to also feed my ego because I thought it was going to be cool to become something very complicated. And by then there was the $6 Million Man show on TV. And, I wanted to be that or learn about that. So I was really fascinated about biomedical engineering. So I went into that and I studied here in UCSD, the undergraduate in that subject. And I was always trying to really impress myself and other people with that. But in my heart, I really wanted to become a chef. So when I finished biomedical engineering, I was going to continue to do a master's in engineering, but I was going to cook my way through grad school instead of studying my way through grad school. Because I was already cooking a lot in the department there and doing stuff. But I really wanted to just go cooking. So I didn't have it in my heart to ask my parents if they were okay. I was 21 for me to leave all that behind, give them the title of biomedical engineering, and then go to Europe and become a chef. So I went back to Venezuela and continued in the rat race. Then I got an MBA and did all these things. Hey, Dad, Mom, look at me. We have a company. So we started in computer networking and telecommunications for 14 years. We did that in Venezuela, and we got very successful.
You had an IT business thriving.
IT business, yeah.
Nice.
Until finally I was able to afford my passion. And when I was already kind of burnt out of all that rat race, I said, no more. I was like, 32, something like that. Yeah. And then I told my wife and the two children we had, we uprooted and we went to Paris to become a chef that I'm now. And we spent 2 years in Paris, and that was the change of my...
That was it, huh?
Of the alignment of my life.
So you were in culinary school in France?
Yes. So again, choosing to go to the best possible available thing, that ego is a pretty powerful thing. So,
so that drove you to go all the way to France. Oh, that's wonderful. So you said 2 years there, and that was in the late 1990s,
Yeah, that was from 99 to 2001.
Okay, and that pretty much leads you up to coming to Encinitas and starting Chuao's. Is that?
That's correct. So we had an option to go somewhere. My brother and I were choosing between Florida and San Diego, but because our alma mater was here, and he's married to a San Diegan. We thought, let's go to San Diego. It's just such a beautiful city. It's the top, it's the top city in the United States. Don't tell anybody. I'll tell everybody, actually. And we said, let's go to San Diego and let's start something way far away from technology, and let's do something in the food industry.
Nice.
And we started in 2001. 2002, we opened our doors in San Diego and Encinitas.
Very nice. And it looks like from my research, you didn't actually start in chocolate. It was bonbon and truffles. Is that right?
Yes, we started very European style, bonbons and truffles, and very romantic. We had a little store in 101, and it was fun. We connected a lot with the people that would come in. I would be in the back room there making the chocolates, and my wife would be in the front, and it was great. And honestly, if it would have stayed that way, it would have been awesome, because I would have been making money from the get-go, because it was very well received. But we always had the idea to create a business, my brother and I. So we didn't want to just have a mom-and-pop shop. We wanted to somehow start and occupy a space in the market. And we very quickly put the cart in front of the horses. So we then all of a sudden we're trying to grow. And of course that needs investment and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden you're expanding. And so anyways, The big race towards now 20 years started very romantically in Encinitas. You watch the movie Chocolat. That was very inspiring for me. And we kind of wanted to sort of live that kind of a romantic chocolate experience at the beginning.
So it started with bonbon and truffles. So you transitioned. Do you remember, at what point in your journey did you make the definitive, we're going to switch to chocolatiers and chocolate? And
well, we started. Well, we did so many mistakes. We started. We chose a name that very few people can pronounce. Just putting 3 vowels together. I didn't know it was such a hard thing for the English language, but Chuao, instead of whatever. I guess until a reporter finally kind of put it together. He said, "Oh, you chew and say wow, chew wow."
Now that's it right there, because that explains everything about your current product line. You chew and then you say, "Wow, this is so good."
That's it. Yeah. So we started already with kind of very Venezuelan names. Chuao is a cacao growing region in Venezuela, and we wanted to kind of portray that really high quality chocolate. And we put names in our bonbons and truffles and bars, and everything what we did at the beginning was very ethnical in a way, directed, and it was very short-sighted on our side, but. We quickly realized that the bonbons and truffles that we still make have a very short shelf life. So in order to really expand the market, we need to have something that can sit on a shelf. So we started migrating towards chocolate bars. And then since then, in the 20 years, chocolate bars are like 95% of our business.
Yes. All right. We're going to take a brief pause. We're talking with Michael. Oh, I'm going to mess it up. Michael Antonorsi.
Perfect.
All right. Michael Antonorsi, the Chief Joy Activator at Chuao Chocolatier. When we come back, we're going to talk about their transformation from a little shop on the 101 to this manufacturing powerhouse here in Carlsbad. Stay with us. We'll be right back. So, Michael, you were sharing with us kind of the origin story of your business, and it started with this little retail shop on the 101 and a big dream. And I appreciate and love you saying, we made a lot of mistakes, but now you have a thriving manufacturing facility here in Carlsbad. And I want to dig into all the wonderful flavors you have now and everything, but how did you make that transition to step back? I mean, I know you still have a little retail presence too, and we'll talk about that, but that had to have been a shift from a retail shop on the 101 to a manufacturing in a business park.
Yeah, for sure. We started, as I said, we started putting the horses in front of the cart. The cart in front of the horses. And when we realized that to be able to be in shelves and everything, we needed to have a bigger throughput. And to do that, we couldn't be doing it in a small little retail store. So we started looking. So this was only 3 years after. We started looking for a place, and we moved. We found a place in Carlsbad, where we're not right now, but we were there for 11 years, right across the street from where we are. Of course, for that, we had to buy equipment. So we went to Europe, bought all the equipment that we needed. And we had no idea exactly where the business was going to track. We still thought bonbons and truffles was a lot of that.
Sure.
We were actually very focused also on retailing. There was a moment when we had 6 retail stores, kind of chocolate cafes. And we were kind of fooled to think that the chocolate cafe was going to be the next Starbucks. And I think there was a moment when Starbucks thought so too, because they started putting a lot of hot chocolate in there too. But that didn't really have enough traction. So we were growing in the retail side while trying to grow in our manufacturing. So we started our first manufacturing with like 9,000 square feet in Carlsbad in that park across the street. And then we started having to rent more space across different buildings. And there was a time when we were in 3 buildings, and that was a little bit complicated. So in 2015 or so, the opportunity came to buy the building that we bought across the street on 2350 Camino Vida Roble. And we moved in there. Yeah. And we were able to create a very beautiful space. My wife is architect that made it all look and feel so beautifully, and also the landscaping. And now we have a home. Now we pretty much have been adopted by Carlsbad and become Carlsbad people.
For sure. Yeah, no. And it is a beautiful manufacturing space. I mean, I've had the pleasure of being in there and seeing, I mean, you look, it's kind of got glass walls that you can look and see where the manufacturing actual portion is. And it's shiny. It's aesthetically pleasing. I mean, it's very nice.
No, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's
I will
beautiful.
tell her.
Okay, good. You mentioned you originally were thinking that the bonbon truffles would be the thing, and now you've switched. And you've switched in a big way. You have a lot of variety of chocolates. Talk about some of the amazing flavors that you come up with. I have a few of my favorites I've listed here, but I'll let you share first, and then I'll dig in and tell you some of my favorites.
For sure. This has been an incredible journey of understanding how and what drives us and how we connect with the consumer. So at the beginning, we were very much about us and we were missing out on connecting with the consumer until we realized that actually, even though we're manufacturing, our business is about sharing joy, and we just use chocolate to do that. So our intention as a company is to share joy with the world through deliciously engaging chocolate experiences. So our chocolate experiences need to be delicious and engaging. So we started getting more familiar with ingredient usage, but putting a little twist. So the potato chip and milk chocolate bar is one of my favorites because it's kind of that savory, snacky kind of effect. We have one of our more iconic bars, which is the firecracker bar, which is on its own a chocolate meditation. So if you put a piece of that bar in your mouth and you bite only once and you let it sit in your mouth and you move it with your tongue and you press it against your palate and you wait and you let it all happen, it starts its action on its own and it starts really creating this experience for you. And it's a lesson also on how we are always controlling everything. And in this case, you wouldn't be able to control it because it's doing it on its own as it starts popping and everything. So that one is a very iconic one and it really reflects our creative side.
And that one has, I mean, it's the old like 1970s pop rock and type of dealio going on there, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
it's so cool.
It's literally called, technically called carbonated sugar crystals. So the problem is when you bite into it, you crack them and then you just hear a nice crunch. But if you let them explode, if you just, as they thin out with your saliva, they pop out so spontaneously you have that spontaneous crackle.
Which, of course, those of us who are roughly my age and maybe some older remember so well from the 70s with pop rocks.
Yeah, it's a super fun one. But number one bar, which was something I resisted a lot, is our Oh My S'mores bar.
And I have that on my list.
And that one came out as our branding director was like really somehow doing a guerrilla warfare in my office. He would be putting posters everywhere with like scenes of people having bonfires and eating, s'mores and all that. And then he would say, "Oh, America needs s'mores. We need s'mores, whatever." And I was like, I can't, how do I do that with these big marshmallows and everything, until I finally decided to do the next complicated thing, which is when we found these tiny little vegan marshmallows to put them on top. So we complicated all our manufacturing because now we have to place on top by hand these marshmallows on each individual bar. And of course, it happened to become one of our more successful bars. So
that's fascinating. I have to give a shout out to a couple of my favorite flavors. So I love the sea salt one. I mean, that one is so just, I don't know if that's like traditional, dark chocolate with sea salt is so good, but I absolutely love it. But a couple that are a little more maybe exotic that you guys have that I love. The chili powder one, I love that.
Spicy Maya?
Yeah, it's got a kick to it there. And then the mango, love mango. I mean, so much diversity in your flavors.
Yeah, the Spicy Maya was our number one, our first bar that we created. It was created as an homage to the Aztecs and the Mayas.
Nice.
And thinking that, of course, they would mix cacao with spices. And it works really well. Hot chilies with chocolate are made to live together.
So good.
And it has this cayenne pepper which only heats your throat, so it doesn't really affect your palate. So it's super interesting. And it's really good when you melt it down with some milk and you make a hot chocolate. Oof,
good tip.
Multi-dimensional experience.
I'm into that. I'm going to be trying that. That's great. All of you, I mean, how many flavors do you currently have?
We have about 21 flavors in our bars. And they pulled me out of creation because it's very expensive to come out with a new bar. Because, I can create them, but then, it takes a long time to get it to market and it's expensive. So the last two bars we created were complicated bars because it's white chocolate and we don't use white chocolate. So the Golden Goodness, got a prize as best new white and milk chocolate bar at the Specialty Food Association, the fancy food shows.
Nice.
And then that we launched in COVID year. And of course, we couldn't really take advantage of that, that Oscar that we got. But then 2 years later, we launched the carrot cake with the same chocolate. So the last two, and that one won best new candy bar in the same event.
Nice.
So those two last are award winning, but they're just new and it's expensive. So those are the last creations I've made. And now I'm like on pause because we're trying to figure out which ones are and where they're placed because we're trying to grow in a very sustainable and logical way.
That makes sense.
And not just run.
But you've dabbled in some other things. I remember, let me back up for a second. You still have a retail front there at your facility in the business park here on Camino Roble in Carlsbad. And it was obviously with COVID, it was shut down. So we had a nice little grand opening, I don't know, a year and a half ago or so. I'm going to circle back to that later and direct people to come visit you. But when we were doing that little grand opening, you also had some craft beer that you had put some of your chocolates into or partnered with somehow. Talk about that.
Yes, this is Thorn Brewery down in San Diego in Barrio Logan. And we created this collaboration. And they chose a few of the flavor profiles. They did an amazing job creating, like stouts and with the spicy Maya, with the honeycomb, with the golden goodness. That was a white stout. I never had a white stout. And they did an amazing job putting that together. And it was so much fun because we got to drink so much beer.
I love it. I tried the honeycomb one. It was very good. That is great. So is there any more of that in your future, those kinds of partnerships, pairings?
I'm working with another beer company now. It's called Rationale, and they're a non-alcoholic beer company.
Oh, nice.
And we're wondering how we can collaborate and do something together too. It's the non-alcoholic beer is growing quite fast.
It is, and that would obviously open it up to a broader audience too.
Absolutely.
So that's great. I love hearing about those kinds of innovative and fun things. Of course, your creativity probably knows no bounds. They have to rein you in, obviously, since you're on the shelf right now.
I am on the shelf.
Talk about your distribution, because you are available in a lot of retail spots.
Again, when we started and when we moved to the building, we were really on fire, and we started growing faster than we should. And we found ourselves in places where we didn't belong. And that's very costly. And that's why we're now growing at a very steady, paceful, sustainable way. We are like in Whole Foods, and we have, Seaside Market down here locally, and Ralph's and Albertsons, and some of those supermarkets, and a lot of local liquor stores and things like that. But nationwide, we are also in a lot of different regions of Whole Foods. I think a great news is that we're going to have our Bark Lux, All My S'mores Bark in San Diego Costco's.
Nice. Congratulations.
Unbeatable price. So I think everybody should go there and get it. This is the first time we're in Costco, in Costco San Diego. We have been in Costco Midwest for a few years. And
is that like a test? And if it goes well, Costco's going to blow it out nationwide type of deal? Or
well, I just only hope it works in San Diego really well. It works really well in Midwest, but I hope it works really well in San Diego so that San Diego can have access to our chocolates through Costco too.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
And
as a Costco customer, that would be wonderful.
Me too. I'm a big Costco customer. So in general, we have multiple different distributions: East Coast, West Coast, and some in the middle. And so I don't know. We probably are in some like 4,000 or 5,000 points of sale nationwide. Wonderful.
And then is there an availability for somebody to just go direct online to you guys and order? Is that a thing?
Absolutely. Yes. We have a online business. It grew a lot through COVID, which was one of those, good things, a few good things that happened with COVID. Yeah. But it grew a lot, and we all do our fulfillment from here in Carlsbad. And you can also come and do will call if you're local. And we ship everywhere nationwide. Wonderful. And during the month of October to March or so, we're available. Well, we're available in Amazon all year long, but they also fulfill from there. So it gets much bigger in the holiday season. But all year round, you can buy through our web.
And the website address is?
Is chuaochocolatier.com.
chuaochocolatier.com. And as he said, that's CHUAO chocolatier.com.
Correct.
I did stumble over that word when I was first trying to look at it and pronounce it. So yes, I'm one of those that was like, I'm lost. But then when you explained to me at that grand opening, the chew, and wow, I had it, I was done. It's in my mind forever. So chuaochocolatier.com. And so I mentioned earlier, you have the retail shop, and the retail shop is fun, not just because of the chocolate. Obviously, the chocolate's the key thing, but you have some fun swag. And I love this whole concept that you teased up a little bit about joy. And of course, the joy in your product, but you have some fun t-shirts and other swag around this concept of joy. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so understanding that what chocolate brings is joy to people, and joy is a beautiful energy. It's a way of sharing with everyone. Nobody keeps the joy to themselves. You always have to expand and share it with people. So before COVID, we were doing tours in our factory. We haven't started that yet. We have some other things that we do. There's a hot chocolate sometimes in our stores and everything. And in the stores, you can pick up your bonbons and all these things. So we haven't really picked up a lot of events after COVID. and we're in the process of watching how the retail operation starts operating again. Because just coming to the factory brings you a lot of joy. But we're open to the public from Monday to Friday, so you can come in and through those big windows, you can just look at how everything is happening. And of course, it smells delicious as chocolate.
It does smell delicious, yes. And it's a great little retail shop, and it does fill you with joy to go in there.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. Anything on the horizon that, besides looking at some other beers and, you're trying to play it cool with new flavors, but anything else on the horizon that you guys are thinking of or investigating at this point?
Well, as I said, I'm still on the shelf, but we have actually transformed ourselves into really going into doing what we do better. And in the past, after COVID, and we are really moving into more lean manufacturing and all these things. So we have put our focus inward towards a better operation, more effective, more efficiency. And so that is what has kept our attention so far. And I'm dying to come out. We have some barks that we sell at Whole Foods. I'm creating a new bark that's going to be very kind of trail mixy, kind of delicious combination of nuts and seeds and stuff like that. That's the only thing that I am now getting invited to test. I have ideas in my head that are moving quickly, but I think when I get the go, then I'm going to go, and then we're going to have some new things coming up.
I love it. You wouldn't think as an outsider, why are you throttling back on your creativity? But it makes sense. You have to do it intentionally and prudently, because you can't get that cart in front of the horses constantly. Your business would be completely out of whack. So it makes sense.
Yeah, it's in a way an advice to every entrepreneur out there. It's like if you start really getting too creative, you spread yourself thin, and every creation needs all its. It's like having one child or 10 children, right? So you cannot have the same attention to 10 children. Mm-hmm. If you have so many all the time, it's hard to really keep track of everything and really give it its own respectful treatment. Yeah. So for placements, to take care of the placements, take care of the product, so it's very expensive.
Yeah.
Creativity is sometimes very fun because you can create and build, and we have the ability to build anything in that factory. But then we need to really be smart. Yeah. Otherwise, it becomes expensive.
Yeah, and 21 flavors. That's a lot.
That's already a lot, yeah.
That's already a lot. In your little retail store, and possibly online or maybe at some of your distribution spots, you have a very neat little sampler pack type thing that people can buy, and it has I don't remember exactly, but maybe 10 of the different flavors inside individually wrapped, which I really enjoy, because then it's a way to get to have so many of the different flavors, in one place.
Yeah, we have 8-piece boxes with 8 bars, and we have with 16 or 32 different bars. Some of them repeated flavors, but we have all the flavors there. And the good thing about coming to the factory, to the boutique, is that you can really experience all the flavors, because the retailers, they always come and say, okay, give me, what are your 5 top sellers? And then so we're restricted in our retails to have few amounts.
Sure.
In Whole Foods, they have a broader spectrum, but on the web and in the store, you can get everything. So it's good to experiment new flavors out there that don't necessarily make it to the shelf. Like for you, the mango, which is one of my favorites because it's got all that tartness, it's delicious. It doesn't really find a lot of placements. But so it's fun to come and explore the different flavors.
Yeah, agree 100%. So that's a great opportunity to go to the web and get one of those sampler packs or one of those mixed packs or whatever, or stop by and
share the joy or share the love. That's the name of them.
That's right. Share the love. That's a great way to put it. And one thing I didn't really point out, you mentioned milk chocolate, but most of your stuff is dark chocolate.
Well, we have a mix. Our milk chocolate is a dark milk chocolate. So because we mix in dark chocolate with the milk chocolate. That is why our milk chocolate has a lot more complexity than just very sweet and kind of milky.
Yeah.
And the profile of our milk chocolate is more caramelly than milky, which is what I like. And our dark chocolate has a profile has a little bit more tartness to it, more fruitiness to it. So when you mix them together, you have a milk chocolate that has all that a nice comfort zone of the milk caramelly kind of a chocolate, but has a little bit of complexity with that dark chocolate we add into it. Wonderful. So depends on what the flavor works better with. So sometimes milk chocolate would be a better carrier for this type of ingredients, and sometimes a dark chocolate would be a better carrier for these other ingredients.
Yeah. So fun.
But don't become fanatical about I don't need this or I don't need that, because both of them deserve to be explored.
I love it. So you started with it was your wife and yourself and your
my brother
and your brother. And so now, how big's the team?
Well, we are now probably around 40.
Nice. Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we expanded a lot. We got up to 75 a moment.
Wow.
And that was part of the craziness of growing.
Right. And trying to figure out the efficiencies, right, in the sweet spot.
Now we're really a beautiful team of 40. We have, most of the people that work for us have worked a long time with us. So it's a great place to go to work.
Well, congratulations on your wonderful success over the years. And I know, as you shared, there were lots of growing pains, but I would say you've arrived. I mean, I feel like you're a well-respected brand everywhere. And we're certainly grateful that you're here in Carlsbad and call Carlsbad your home. And just thanks so much for taking the time to come down and share your guys' story with us today.
Well, thank you for having me here, Brett. And I really appreciate everything here on Carlsbad has supported us. And it does feel really good to be here. We're very honored by all our customers that have believed in us and have supported us.
Wonderful. So ChuaoChocolatier.com, is that correct?
That is correct.
And their retail spot is on Camino Vita Roble in Carlsbad.
That is correct.
There you go, folks. Get some joy. Get some joy. You shouldn't be going too long between your extra doses of joy in your life.
Totally agree.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us on our Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact podcast today. If you enjoyed it, please hit the follow button on wherever you get your audio. And please tell a friend. We would love to hear your feedback, which you can share at carlsbadpodcast.com. You can leave us a review, ask a question, or leave an audio comment, which we can play on the show in the future. And that's all we have for today. Can't wait to see you next time on Carlsbad People, Purpose, and Impact. And remember, share some kindness today. It's free, creates goodwill, and makes you feel great.